Hey there, here is a great idea that you can not steal so much as take as a great clue to how to accelerate your performance. And it comes from one of the wealthiest men ever to have lived. Stay tuned. Hey there, Ian here, and it's a pleasure to be able to be with you. I hope this is catching you happy, healthy, and strong. John D. Rockefeller was one of the wealthiest people that have ever lived. And just for a bit of historical context, he made his money in the oil business through a company, largely through this company called Standard Oil, which is now Exxon today. And he got control of much of the oil business, which was emerging in the US in the latter part of the 1800s, and he got control of a lot of it by the time he was around about 40 years old. And his wealth in today's dollars was around about $340 billion, which is a tidy sum. One of the structures or rhythms that he used to grow the company may have happened by chance, we don't really know, but this is how this particular structure that we can use in our companies came about. He and his senior team happened to live in the same neighborhood, probably just by luck. And they would walk to work, to the office, together. And at the end of the day, they would walk home, mostly together. Now, of course, they had meetings in the office about the things that you have meetings about, projects, problems and challenges, and working out solutions and that type of thing. But the daily walk and talks were extremely valuable. That was when they got out of the office and really thought about many of the things that shaped the company. And they were so valuable that when Rockefeller moved the office from Cleveland in Ohio to New York, the financial center of the US, which it was then and still is, when he moved the office, he guided his senior team to live in the same neighborhood so they could continue that tradition of walking and talking. Now, in more recent times, a gentleman called T. Boone Pickens, whose book, The First Billion is the Hardest, is a good read. And he used a similar technique to build his second $1 billion. And by the way, he did that in his 70s. So for many of us, there's still time to chalk up that first billion in net worth. But his routine was something like he would get up early and read, or he was in the energy trading business, by the way. He would read the analyses and reports that were published for that day. Then he'd go to the gym, and then he would have a talk with his key team. And they would discuss what they were going to do for the day, what they should be watching, what trends they had noticed from the previous day. They would do what they do. They would get to the purpose of their work for that day. And then at the end of the day, around about 4:15, he would get together again and say, right, what worked really well today? What did we really do well? What went wrong? What lessons can we take forward from today into tomorrow? And he had those two touch points, a bit like Rockefeller did, and that grew his second $1 billion well into his 70s. So, what is the lesson? What can we take from those two very successful people and apply to our own businesses? And that is the concept of a daily huddle, a daily gathering where you can align yourselves for that day. Now, it's really crucial not to call it a meeting. It is probably the most important meeting, in quotes, I would say that you have in the organization. If you're going to really nail one meeting, the daily huddle is the most important in my view. Now, it's really important that you don't call it a meeting. This is a huddle. If you mention the word meetings to most people, their eyes kind of glaze over, and because we're all used to meetings running too long, meandering off topic, and not really solving anything. We have experienced a lot of those types of meetings. This is not a meeting, this is a huddle. And I recommend, and you can read about it in Scaling Up, it's one of the key sort of components of the whole framework. The huddle composes of 3 key agenda items. The first one is what's up. What are you and the team going to be focusing on for the next 6 to 8 hours of work specifically? What are you going to be focused on? What are you going to be, what are your priorities for that day? Next, visit a key metric or 2. If you're watching something that is a priority for that quarter or for that month, look at 1 or 2 key metrics. Don't do a full report and a deep dive analysis, but if you're looking at a metric every day, what are the chances of that metric actually improving? Pretty good. Rather than looking at once a month or once a quarter, and then you don't really learn anything and you can't take corrective action and make sure that you're tracking properly. Look at it every day, much higher chance of success. Lastly, agenda item number 3 is where are you stuck? A very, very key part of the daily huddle. What's in your way? What is stopping you making progress? Who can't you talk to? What is a technical problem that you're facing? Highlight that, and oddly enough, even the fact that you've spoken about it helps you solve the problem. So it's very, very important to put that into a physical form, which is the air vibrations and movements of people's eardrums. You put that thought into physical form and it helps you solve the problem. So the daily huddle. What's up? What is the focus for today? Visit a key metric or 2. And where are you stuck? And that round robin sort of rhythm can cut down so much wasted time of sort of chasing people up, getting an update, spotting discrepancies. Wait a minute, you're working on that project that was worth 5 million. I thought it was worth 6.5 million. And I thought the due date was 17th of July. What do you mean it's now 10th of August? What's changed? You can spot those things very, very quickly in a huddle that might get missed in regular meetings and updates where information isn't so much at your fingertips. So a rough ratio that we think holds true is that 1 minute in a daily huddle saves you about 10 minutes during the day. If you've got about 8 people in the huddle, that saved you over an hour's worth of productivity for those 8 people. And if you do the maths, you can slice it and dice it any way you like. This adds up to substantial time savings over the course of a week and a month. I know that you can't take time like you can money and use it all at the end of the month. You can't save the time up and use that as an extra day. But all of those time savings begin to compound. And that's just for the people in the huddle. If you look at better project performance, the speed of solving problems, looking at metrics that are tracking and improving those metrics, you kind of get the picture. You're able to do a lot more thanks to this daily huddle. And if you really want to push the envelope and go for ninja performance, do a huddle at the end of the day. What did we learn about today? What went well? What could have gone better? But start with the morning daily. And I think it's a great performance boost for you and your team. If you would like to download a copy of my cheat sheet on how to make the huddle most effective, look at the link in the bottom of the email that you got this through, or look at the description below, and I'll put a link in there for you to download the guide for really boosting the huddle, particularly if you've not done one before and you want to start. I really hope that did make sense. Give it a try. You can't possibly, you're not going to spoil anything, and if you can commit to that for 4 to 6 weeks, it's amazing how you want to progress and keep that going. One last note. A lot of times people say, well, do I have a daily huddle at the leadership level? And then we have one below that and one below that. How does that map out? It depends on the structure of your organization, but generally I would say that no person is in more than 2 huddles in that day. Otherwise it takes too long. That's why we don't call it a meeting, by the way. It's not a meeting, it's a huddle. Meetings can have a very bad connotation. They conjure up, for many people, not so great thoughts. But let's say that you're in the senior team and you have a team that directly supports you. You may be in one for the senior team and one for your direct support. That's it. So no one person should be in more than 2 huddles a day, otherwise it takes too long. So give it a try. If you have any questions, then feel free to post them in the comments below, or get back to me directly. Happy to help. I hope that makes sense. It's a great performance booster if you can stick to it. Take care of each other, and I'll look forward to sharing with you again soon.